Hello and welcome to this video on defending the Bible. I'm LJ and I'm going to be looking at a rather difficult subject, rape in the Bible. Does the Bible condone rape? When attacking the Word of God, people often point to the Bible and say that it not only condones rape, but in certain circumstances actually instructs a rape victim to marry her rapist. Now, I'm sure most people are going to agree that rape is morally wrong. And therefore, if it can be shown that the Bible is condoning rape, it would be an argument against the morality of God. The Bible being the Word of God, if it's condoning rape, then it would be God condoning rape, and therefore would be an argument against his unequivocal morality. But what does the Bible actually say? It certainly doesn't shy away from the subject, but does it actually condone rape? Let's have a look. Probably the most used chapter in the Bible as evidence highlighting the condoning of rape is Deuteronomy 22, specifically verse 25 and verses 28 through 29. It is said that these passages prove that rape is condoned in the Bible. It's important that we understand the verses and not simply take them at face value. Let's look at verse 25. Deuteronomy 22:25 in the NIV. But if out in the country a man happens to meet a young woman pledged to be married and rapes her, only the man who has done this shall die. The NIV uses the word rape in this verse, as does the NLT, but if a man meets the engaged woman out in the country and he rapes her, then only the man must die. And the ISV, if a man meets a girl in the country who is engaged to be married and then rapes her, the man alone, the one who had sexual relations with her, must die. And also the NET Bible. But if the man comes across the engaged woman in the field and overpowered her and raped her, then only the rapist must die. The ESV, however, uses the word seizes. But if in the open country a man meets a young woman who is betrothed, and the man seizes her and lies with her, then only the man who lay with her shall die. Now the KJV goes with the word force. But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her and lie with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die. The NASV also uses the word force. But if in the field the man finds the girl who is engaged, and the man forces her and lies with her, then only the man who lies with her shall die. Also the ASV version. But if the man find the damsel that is betrothed in the field, and the man force her and lie with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die. Now, although using different words, each version would appear to be referencing a man that has sex with a woman without her consent, or in other words, rape. Now the Hebrew word translated comes from the root word kalzach, which is Strong's Concordance 2388, and it defines the word to mean to be or grow firm or strong, strengthen. The word is used in verses such as 2 Samuel 15:5. And if we just have a look at a few versions here. The NIV. Also, whenever anyone approached him to bow down before him, Absalom would reach out his hand, take hold of him, and kiss him. And the NLT. When people tried to bow before him, Absalom wouldn't let them. Instead, he took them by the hand and kissed them. And also the ESV, and whenever a man came near to pay homage to him, he would put his hand and take hold of him and kiss him. And if we look at the KJV, and it was so, and when any man came nigh to him to do him obeisance, he put forth his hand and took him and kissed him. And it's also used in Daniel 11:7, and if we just look at three versions here, one from her family line will arise to take her place, He will attack the forces of the king of the north and enter his fortress. He will fight against them to be victorious. NIV. And from a branch, from her roots, one shall arise in his place. He shall come against the army and enter the fortress of the king of the north, and shall deal with them and shall prevail. ESV. But out of a branch of her roots shall one stand up in his estate, which shall come with an army, and shall enter into the fortress of the kings of the north, and shall deal against them, and shall prevail. The KJV. Now the translations of this word would imply some strong physical contact or force. Although the word does not specifically mean the act of rape, when put into context with the rest of the passage, a man using force, or the implying of the strength of the man, the NIV, NLT, ISV and NET Bible usage of the word rape in this verse would therefore not seem to be an inappropriate translation. It is a fair assumption to say that verse 25 is talking about sex by force or rape. But is it actually condoning rape? We will notice that the end of the verse states in all versions that the man, the rapist, should die, and him alone. Now if we have a look at verse 26 in the NIV, do nothing to the woman, she has committed no sin deserving death. This case is like that of someone who attacks and murders a neighbour. And in the NLT, do nothing to the young woman. She has committed no crime worthy of death. She is an innocent as a murder victim. And the ESV, but you shall do nothing to the young woman. She has committed no offence punishable by death. For this case is like that of a man attacking and murdering his neighbour. And NASV, but you shall do nothing to the girl. There is no sin in the girl worthy of death. And the KJV, but unto the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man riseth against his neighbour and slayeth him, even so is this matter. And the ISV and the NET and the ASV versions of the Bible all agree with this statement. So all these versions agree that the woman in verse 25 has done nothing wrong. She has not sinned, but has been sinned against. A rapist is likened to a murderer, and should receive the punishment of a murderer, which is the penalty of death. So we see that the Bible not only clearly condemns the acts of rape, but is ordering the most sincere of punishments to be handed out to the rapist. So that leaves us with Deuteronomy verse 28 and 29. So let's have a look in the NIV. If a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her, and they are discovered, he shall pay her father 50 shekels of silver. He must marry the young woman, for he has violated her. He can never divorce her as long as he lives. Now it seems pretty clear here that these two verses are also referencing rape, and state that the man must pay the father of the woman he rapes 50 shekels, and she must become his wife forever. This would seem very unfair and not at all moral. A woman who has been raped must then be forced to marry the man who has raped her. It would seem that the Bible does not only in fact condone rape, but also gives a rapist a way of marrying any woman that he wishes, as long as she is not already betrothed to another man. It would also seem to directly contradict what the Bible had just stated regarding rape 3 verses earlier. How do we answer this? Is there an explanation? Let's look at some of the other versions of the Bible and how they translate these verses. The ISV, However, if a man meets a girl who isn't engaged to be married and seizes her, rapes her, and is later found out, furthermore, he must marry her, because he had violated her. He is to not divorce her as long as he lives. And the NET version: suppose a man comes across a virgin who is not engaged and overpowers and rapes her, and they are discovered. The man who has raped her must pay her father 50 shekels of silver and she must become his wife, because he has violated her. He may never divorce her as long as he lives. The ESV: if a man meets a virgin who is not betrothed and seizes her and lies with her, and they are found, then the man who lay with her shall give to the father of the young woman 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has violated her. He may not divorce her all his days. And the NASV version: if a man discovers a girl who is a virgin, who is not engaged, and seizes her and lies with her, and they are discovered, then the man who lay with her shall give to the girl's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall become his wife, because he has violated her. He cannot divorce her all his days. And the NLT version: suppose a man has intercourse with a young woman who is a virgin, but is not engaged to be married. If they are discovered, he must pay her father 50 pieces of silver. Then he must marry the young woman, because he violated her, and he may never divorce her as long as he lives. And the KJV: if a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. And the ASV version: if a man find a damsel that is a virgin, that is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. We can see that not all the Bible versions use rape. So what is the correct translation? Is rape the correct word to use in these verses? The Hebrew word that is being translated rape, seize and lay hold of, is from the root word taufas. We see that this is a different word than the word translated as rape in verse 25. And according to Strong's Concordance, this is word 8610, taufas means to lay hold of, wield. It, like the word in verse 25, doesn't mean the act of rape. But is rape the more accurate translation in this passage? There are 65 occasions that this word is used in the Bible, and here are just a couple of examples. In Genesis 4:21, and we'll see that the NIV, NLT and ESV translate the word as play, while the KJV translates it as handle. In Deuteronomy 21:19, the NIV, the NLT and the ESV translates the word as hold of, and the KJV translates it as hold on. The versions that translate the word as rape in Deuteronomy 22:28 do not translate any of the other 64 occurrences of the word as rape. It is also important to mention that unlike in verse 25, where the man alone is condemned and the woman is pronounced innocent, verse 28 does not distinguish between the man and the woman, and instead states if they be found or they be discovered. There is no distinguishing between the man and the woman. It is again important to highlight that the woman is not betrothed to another man. So this woman is basically a single woman. Why is this part important? If we look at verses 23 and 24, we will see that it is dealing with the exact same situation as verse 28, consensual sex between a man and a woman, but the woman is already betrothed and so is committing adultery. If we have a look at that in the NIV, if a man happens to meet in a town a virgin pledged to be married and he sleeps with her, you shall take both of them to the gate of that town and stone them to death. The young woman because she was in the town and did not scream for help, and the man because he violated another man's wife. You must purge this evil from among you. And in the NLT, suppose a man meets a young woman, a virgin who is engaged to be married, and he has sexual intercourse with her. If this happens within a town, you must take both of them to the gates of that town and stone them to death. The woman is guilty because she did not scream for help. The man must die because he violated another man's wife. In this way, you will purge this evil from among you. And the ESV, if there is betrothed virgin, and a man meets her in the city and lies with her, then you shall bring them both out of the gate of the city, and you shall stone them to death with stones. The young woman because she did not cry for help, though she was in the city, and the man because he violated his neighbour's wife. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. And the NASV, if there is a young girl who is a virgin engaged to a man, and another man finds her in the city and lies with her, then you shall bring them both out to the gates of the city, and ye shall stone them to death. The girl because she did not cry out in the city, and the man because he has violated his neighbour's wife. Thus you shall purge the evil from among you. And if we have a look at that in the KJV, if a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto a husband, and a man find her in the city and lie with her, then ye shall bring them both out unto the gate of the city, and ye shall stone them with stones that they die. The damsel because she cried not, being in the city, and the man because he hath humbled his neighbour's wife. So thou shalt put away evil from among you. And if we just look at that verse in the ISV, and also the NET, and lastly, if we have a look in the ASV version. And we see, in this case, both the man and the woman are to blame. And because of the act of adultery, both are to be punished equally. The punishment in verse 28, though, is that the man must pay the woman's father 50 shekels of silver and marry the woman. There is no punishment of death for either party. The man has had sex with the woman. We can safely say that the sex depicted in this verse, when this verse is put together with an understanding of the culture and the customs of the time, we get a clearer picture of what is being referenced and explained in verses 28 and 29 was consensual. It was custom at the time that sex was part of marriage. A man and a woman would not have sex until they were betrothed or engaged to one another, and many times not until after the actual wedding ceremony itself. It is worth stating that a Hebrew betrothal was unlike an engagement today. As soon as the couple had agreed to marry each other, this would normally be arranged by the fathers for a mutually beneficial agreement. Then they would officially, by Hebrew law, be husband and wife. And even though the wedding itself may not take place for a year or so, they would, in all essence, be man and wife. It was also custom at the time that the father of the bride would be paid a dowry payment for his daughter. Now this was because he was losing a member of his household who would contribute to the household chores. And this expected payment would be more if the woman was a virgin. The man and woman have simply been caught having no strings attached but consensual sex. This was forbidden under Hebrew law, and so the man would have been expected to honour the woman and marry her. The reason the man must pay the father the 50 shekels is because he has basically circumvented the dowry payment by having sex without a betrothal and marriage. He has also devalued any future dowry payment the father would likely receive for his daughter if she was to marry someone else, because obviously she is no longer a virgin. Now this is further supported in Exodus 22, 16 and 17. And if we have a look at that in the NIV, if a man seduce a virgin who is not pledged to be married and sleeps with her, he must pay the bride price and she shall be his wife. If her father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he must still pay the bride price for virgins. And if we have a look at that in the ESV, if a man seduces a virgin who is not betrothed and lies with her, he shall give the bride price for her and make her his wife. If her father utterly refuses to give her to him, he shall pay money equal to the bride price for virgins. And if we have a look at that in the KJV, and if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. If her father utterly refuse to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. This was not a woman being forced to marry her rapist, but two people who had been having mutually consensual sex being made to formalize the relationship and get married. When we understand the verses in the correct context, the traditions of the time, and importantly the correct translation, we will see that these verses are not condoning rape. In fact, they are highly condemned. Verses 28 and 29, as shown in the KJV, is actually condemning casual but consensual sex. And the KJV also shows the argument that God is condoning rape is therefore false. And it's really important that we get the correct translation when trying to defend the Word of God. Thank you very much for listening to this video. If you have any comments, please leave them on YouTube or send me a message through Facebook or through email. I hope this was useful, and I look forward to seeing you on another video.